Take care of the fish and the fishing will take care of itself. This is the guiding principle behind the organization known as Trout Unlimited. To make a lasting impact on a natural resource is a difficult accomplishment. Back in 1959, 16 fly fishermen on the banks of the Au River in Michigan believed that they could do so. This is the story of my experience volunteering for Trout Unlimited, which is a nonprofit organization dedicated to protecting cold water fisheries and the preservation and restoration of native and wild trout and salmon populations. Today I'm going to tell you about my experience one day last summer working for TU, in which I was able to educate the public, restore watersheds, and conduct the research that has proven so vital in achieving TU's mission of creating a legacy of cold, clean, and fishable water. The morning began with 12 instructors, including myself, and 23 elementary students interested in learning fly fishing as part of the First Cast program. We began in the classroom where we taught the principles behind the sport, and from there we progressed to the gymnasium where we taught the mechanics behind the fly fishing cast. By the end of the morning, we were standing in the middle of the river assisting the students in any way possible with fly fishing. TU makes it their priority to get new people interested in fly fishing and convey their mission to protect and preserve cold water fisheries. Cold water fisheries are very sensitive to changes in the environment, including climate change and threats from invasive species. Through TU's outreach and education approach, things like aquatic invasive species have been brought to the public's attention, and through this attention, their spread has been slowed, and work has been started to remove these species from the ecosystems. Now that I've told you how, through education, TU has been able to make a positive impact on cold water fisheries, I'm going to move on to how TU is restoring these cold water watersheds. Around noon, we reconvened on the banks of a smaller river on the edge of town for lunch. This river had been less than pristine since being dammed about a decade ago by a family of displaced beavers. Our job was to remove the dam and rebuild the riverbank in order to restore flow to the river, which is vital in keeping water temperatures cool. Rich Bisk, a Southeast Minnesota coordinator for the Nature Conservancy, says, "A narrower stream with higher energy can push sediment, exposing cobble and rock, which is good habitat for insects and trout." TU is dedicated to restoring watersheds to their natural and undammed state. This allows for trout populations to move freely, allowing for natural reproduction and habitat range. During the vast human development of the United States, rivers have been dammed for energy generation, and roads have been constructed, blocking the natural flow of rivers and streams in the process. This inhibits the natural movement of trout and salmon, and in the process can substantially increase the temperature of the body of water in question. TU has built lasting relationships with landowners, state agencies, and the halls of Congress in order to raise awareness and guarantee protection for cold water fisheries. TU and its volunteers spend donations and volunteer hours removing culverts, installing bridges, and strengthening riverbanks in order to restore rivers and streams to their former glory. Now that I've told you how through restoration TU has been able to make a positive impact on cold water fisheries, I'm going to move on to some of the research that TU conducts. As afternoon turned to evening, it became time to assist longtime friend and cold water fisheries biologist Brian Giordano with his research project, in which he and his volunteers are tracking brown trout movements in the Au River in Michigan. The opportunity began by walking down the very steps in which TU was founded by those 16 members way back in 1959. The fish in question was quickly radio-located near its summer home in a logjam. This fish had been observed to travel 17 miles throughout the year depending on the season. TU is the origin of the catch and release philosophy. For the founders of TU, fly fishing was about the stock and the catch, as well as returning the fish safely to the water. The organization is responsible for counting and tagging trout populations in order to monitor the health of each watershed they protect. TU's first president, Dr. Casey E. Westel Jr., said that in all manner of trout management, we want to know that we are substantially correct, both morally and biologically. These are the type of projects and research opportunities that TU sponsors in order to better understand the ecology of the cold water fisheries that they protect. TU educates new and old fly fishermen in the art of fly fishing and the conservation involved, as well as what we can do as individuals to ensure that future generations have the same opportunities that we have in the sport. Through scientific research and hard work restoring watersheds, TU is actively involved in protecting pristine cold water fisheries, as well as restoring others to their former free-flowing and natural state. Today, TU has nearly 150,000 members ranging from Maine to Montana to Alaska. For every dollar donated, 89 cents is put directly into conservation programs, which can number in the hundreds at any given time. For the 16 fly fishermen who founded TU on the banks of the Au River in Michigan back in 1959, the dream of protecting the fisheries that they love became true, and is now the leader in cold water fisheries conservation.